Let's talk about problem solving and decision making. This is a very important skill, one that earns us a ticket to becoming successful supervisor and manager. I invite you today to help me walk you through the 2-day program that I designed in the hope that you might find some interest in running this program for your own organization. So what goes into this 2 days training? The first part is really examining how we think, because how we think has a lot to do with how we solve problems. According to Daniel Kahneman, author of the book Thinking Fast and Slow, we have two ways of thinking. One is thinking fast and the other is thinking slow. We think fast when we recognize that the problem is obvious, familiar, and we apply emotion in making decisions. And it can be error prone because we make assumptions or we jump to conclusion. We recognize the need to think slowly kapag ka na-recognize natin na, hindi familiar itong problema na ito, or this problem requires more thought. So that's thinking slow. Applicable ba ang thinking fast or thinking slow in problem solving? Yes, recognizing what the kind of problem is and what kind of thinking is required. Kaya naman papasok dito yung concept ng Cynefin framework ni David Snowden. He said there are different kinds of problems and they have to be dealt with differently. Let's start with obvious problems. What are obvious problems? Kapag pundido ang bombilya sa iyong bahay o kaya flat ang gulong ng iyong sasakyan, you already know how to solve that because the problem is obvious and the answer is obvious. The solution is obvious. You can apply best practices for obvious problems. In the organization, nangyayari yan, may mga obvious problems na hindi nasosolve kasi yung mga tao walang ownership of the problem. So how do you deal with that? If you're a supervisor or a manager, we'll cover that. Next is complicated problems. What are complicated problems? These are problems that require some investigation as to the root causes. Nagagamitan natin ito ng fishbone diagram or any kind of root cause analysis tool to understand the problem, to analyze it, and as soon as we understand the problem, it's time to come up with a solution and make decision. The third kind of problem is called complex problems. What are complex problems? Complex problems don't usually have root causes. They have many causes and the causes are interrelated to each other. So, just asking the right question is already a challenge. Ano ang dapat na approach for dealing with complex problems? We'll talk about that in the training. And then we have chaotic problems. Ano itong mga chaotic problems na ito? Ito yung mga problemang masyadong urgent na wala kang time mag-root cause analysis. For example, sa bahay mo ay biglang tumagas yung mga tubo at nagkalat yung tubig sa bahay mo. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, magro-root cause analysis muna ako at isosolve ko. I-identify ko muna yung mga root causes nitong problema na to bago ko isolve. You come up with novel practice. You try to find a way to plug the leak. And then pagkatapos mong manormalize yung situation, saka mo iisipin kung ano yung mas permanent solution doon sa problema. So those are called chaotic problems. Ngayon, if we are unable to categorize problems, you fall into disorder. Marami akong nakikitang ganito. Making do with bad systems. Yung mga naririnig mo sa mga tao na matagal na namin problema yan. But we're not solving it. We're not categorizing it. You're in disorder. So as a manager, as a supervisor, you need to recognize what kind of problem you're facing and how to deal with them so that you don't land under disorder. Di ba? So, ano ang mga learning objectives nitong program na ito? Of course, we want to understand the key concepts and techniques used in problem solving and decision making. One of them would be the Cynefin framework, among others. We're also going to talk about the roles leaders play in facilitating problem solving in the workplace. The importance of maintaining transparency, of breaking down silos, kasi kung minsan yung problema sa atin, yung root cause nasa kabilang department, o kaya naman ang problema nasa kabilang department, ang root cause ay nasa ating department. Importante ang open-mindedness, importante yung adoption of strategy or system for problem solving and decision making. So we'll cover that as well. We'll talk about different approaches, marami niyan, just for comparison, ano-ano ba yung mga different approaches to problem solving and decision making, and how to apply them in various situations. We'll also introduce some tools, some familiar tools in problem solving, in identifying root causes and developing effective solutions. We'll evaluate potential solutions and select the most appropriate ones based on the analysis of available data. So we'll use 4 hats of creativity, brainstorming, scamper, and decision matrix for doing this. At syempre, napakahalaga na ang ating solution ay self-correcting. So, part of making decision is creating an action plan to implement the chosen solution and monitor its effectiveness. And I just want to share that if we are to effectively carry out this training and develop the necessary problem-solving and decision-making competencies, it helps that it does not begin and end in the classroom. So we offer 3 phases of solution with pre-work, where we orient the target participants and their bosses if they're available. 2-day session to deep dive, to skill practice, and to come up with learning action plan. And then after 3 days, we will see the participants after they work on their problem-solving and decision-making project. The follow-through session will help them reflect on their experience and the key lessons that they've learned in the process, which will help us develop the necessary report for management to decide how to capitalize on or leverage on the new learning and address additional competency gaps of the target participants. So if you want to know more about our problem-solving and decision-making training, just DM me and look at my bio for our website for more training topics. I hope this helped.